This is Tony T here from Tony'sPicks.com with our college football pick show. This is week 11, part 2 of 10 more games for you on Saturday. So it'll be a total of 20 so far on the site. So half of the games for Saturday will be up after we complete this video. For more free pick videos, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Lots of free picks on our channel delivered by myself, as well as the team of cappers here at Tony'sPicks.com, making a great channel to subscribe to. Hit us up with that like, that thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. Then visit our site, Tony'sPicks.com. We're a multi-capper site showcasing our top performers in our industry. Click the links to the half cappers, get signed up for long-term passes. Guys like Sean Hanks, DeAndre, Brian Biller, Kevin Thomas, Ron Crawford, Brian Palmer. Guys you know from our live show as well as our YouTube videos. Latest frame pictures here on the page with best bets and more will be locked and loaded for this card here on Wednesday. Remember our promo code TonyT at checkout will knock off that 15%. The link is in the description to get signed up. So let's go ahead. Let's get this one underway. Missouri State and Liberty, this one for Saturday. Missouri State now 5-3 after a 28-21 home victory against FIU. The Bears had slight movement in the passing game and rushed for 206 yards for 5.6 yards a carry. On defense, they limited the Panthers through the air and allowed 115 yards rushing for 3.3 yards a carry. Jacob Clark in the game, 16-27 passes for 163 yards with 2 touchdowns. Liberty now 4-4 with a 59-30 home victory against Delaware. The Flames gained 561 yards with strong running and passing. On defense, they held the Blue Hens to 3 yards per rush with 344 yards passing for 7 yards per pass attempt. Ethan Vasco in the game, 14-20 passing for 221 yards with 2 touchdowns. He rushed for 31 yards to score. Missouri State has 3 straight road wins. Liberty has a bad home defeats Madison. The Bears on the road in conference rushing for 4.7 yards a carry and limits opponents in the run game. Liberty at home in conference is allowing 293 yards passing for 6.8 yards per pass attempt. Pick here Missouri State here plus the 8. UAB and Rice, this one for Saturday. We got UAB now 3-5 after a 38-19 road defeat to UConn. The Blazers were inefficient in the passing game but gave up 5 sacks. They rushed for 154 yards for 4.5 yards a carry. On defense, they limited the Huskies on the ground and allowed 267 yards passing for 8.9 yards per pass attempt. Ryder Burton in the game, 21-30 for 209 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. Rice now 4-5 with a 38-14 home defeat to Memphis. The Owls were limited in the passing game and rushed for 112 yards for 2.4 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 4.5 yards per rush to the Tigers with 225 yards passing for 9.8 yards per pass attempt. Chase Jenks in the game, 11 of 16 passes for 100 yards with a touchdown and a pick. UAB has lost every road game. Rice has a notable home win against an improving UConn team. The Blazers' defense on the road in conference gave up nearly 5 yards a carry with 10.3 yards per pass attempt. Rice at home is getting accurate quarterback play and limits teams to 3.5 yards per rush. UAB 1-5 the spread on the road against losing teams. Pick here Rice minus 2.5. Maryland and Rutgers for Saturday. Maryland found a 4-4 with a 55-10 home defeat to Indiana. The Terrapins had movement in the passing game and rushed for 37 yards. On defense, they allowed 588 yards to the Hoosiers by poorly defending the run and pass. Malika Washington completed 16-31 passing for 242 yards with a touchdown and 2 picks. Rutgers found a 4-5 with a 35-13 road defeat to Illinois. The Scarlet Knights rushed for 2.2 yards a carry and were inefficient in the passing game. On defense, they allowed 445 yards to the final line by poorly defending the run and pass. Ethan Kalamandas, 25-45 pass for 203 yards with a touchdown. Maryland fired their head coach right after that loss. It is 4 straight losses for the Terrapins. Rutgers has a home losses here to Oregon and Iowa. Maryland offensively on the road in conference is getting really poor quarterback play. Rutgers' home conference numbers are poor, but Maryland is a major step down in class from Iowa and Oregon. Pick here Rutgers at a pickup. Jacksonville State and UTEP going off here on Wednesday. Jacksonville State on Saturday's game. Conference USA sometimes plays those midweek games, but this one is on Saturday. Jacksonville State now 5-3 after a 24-21 road win at Middle Tennessee State. The Gamecocks were efficient in the passing game and rushed for 143 yards for 2.9 yards a carry. On defense, they held the Blue Raiders to 3.8 yards per rush, with 235 yards passing for 5.2 yards per pass attempt. King Krill in the game, 13 of 19 passes for 139 yards with a touchdown. He only rushed for 1.9 yards a carry. UTEP 2-6 after a 33-20 road defeat to Kennesaw State. The Miners were inefficient through the air and rushed for 135 yards for 3.1 yards a carry. On defense, they limited the Owls through the air and rushed for 150 yards for 3.8 yards a carry. Skylar Locklear in the game, 14 of 29 passes for 160 yards with 2 touchdowns. He rushed for 77 yards. Jacksonville State has won 2 straight on the road. UTEP has lost 3 straight at home. The Gamecocks have defended well on the road against the conference. The quarterback position on the road against Conference USA, completing 71% with 10.2 yards per pass attempt. UTEP at home in conference put up 9.5 points a game, getting really poor play in the run and passing game. Gamecocks 4-2 the spread on the road, facing teams with a 250 or lower win percentage. UTEP 0-5 to the spread at home when lined at +3 to -3. Pick here Jacksonville State -1. FIU at Middle Tennessee State. This one for action on Saturday. FIU fell to 3-5 with a 28-21 road defeat at Missouri State. The Panthers had movement in the passing game and rushed for 115 yards for 3.3 yards a carry. On defense, they limited the Bears through the air and allowed 206 yards rushing for 5.6 yards a carry. Keon Jenkins here, 15-24 passes for 147 yards with 2 touchdowns. Middle Tennessee State now 1-7 after a 24-21 home defeat to Jacksonville State. Blue Raiders were inefficient in the passing game. They rushed for 84 yards for 3.8 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 2.9 yards per rush with 215 yards passing for 10.2 yards per pass attempt. Nicholas Fatadio, 23-45 passes for 235 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. Middle Tennessee State has lost every home game. FIU has a road win at Western Kentucky. FIU in their conference road games running for nearly 5 yards a carry and defended the pass well. They are allowing 17 points per game against Conference USA on the road. Middle Tennessee State at home. Conference is inefficient in the passing game, allowing 247 yards passing for 9.5 yards per pass attempt. MTSU 5-11 the spread at home. Pick here FIU -1. Tulsa and FAU, this one for Saturday. Tulsa fell to 2-6 after a 38-37 home defeat to Temple. The Golden Hurricane had good passing performance and rushed for 140 yards for 3.2 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 5.3 yards per rush with 267 yards passing for 7.6 yards per pass attempt. Baylor Hayes completed 19-31 passing for 296 yards for 3 touchdowns. FAU 3-5 with a 42-32 road defeat to Navy. The Owls threw at high volume and rushed for 69 yards for under 3 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 397 yards rushing to the midshipmen for 7.1 yards per carry. Caden Feldkamp, 25-41 passing for 299 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. Tulsa in their road AAC games rushed for 3.3 yards a carry, and they're getting poor quarterback play. They allow AAC opponents on the road 39 points per game with 5 yards per rush and 8.1 yards per pass attempt. FAU at home posting 40 points per game behind good quarterback play. And Tulsa 1-5 on the road against the AAC. We'll take FAU here at -3.5. Louisiana Tech and Delaware. This one for action on Saturday. Louisiana Tech now 5-3 after a 55-14 home victory against Sam Houston State. The Bulldogs were efficient through the air and rushed for 425 yards for 10.9 yards per pass attempt. They allowed 5.1 yards per pass to the Bearcats with 296 yards rushing for 9 yards per carry. Blake Baker in the game, 17-21 passing for 221 yards with a touchdown and a pick. He rushed for 42 yards and a score. Delaware sits at 4-4 after their 59-30 road defeat at Liberty. The Blue Hens were held to under 3 yards a carry and had movement in the passing game. They allowed 561 yards to the Flames by performing poorly against the run and pass. Nick Minashushi, 29-49 passing for 244 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. He rushed for 37 yards and a score. Delaware has been competitive at home. Louisiana Tech on the road is rushed for 2.8 yards a carry, getting poor quarterback play. They average 18.5 points per game on the road against Conference USA. Delaware at home in home conference games put up 30 points per game, getting good play in the passing game. Pick your Delaware plus 5.5. Charlotte and East Carolina for Saturday. Charlotte now 1-7 after a 54-20 home defeat to North Texas. The 49ers had good performance in the passing game and rushed for 104 yards for 3.9 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 5 yards per rush in the game with 608 yards passing for 12.4 yards per pass attempt. Grayson Loftus, 20 of 36 passing for 295 yards with 2 touchdowns. East Carolina 5-3 with their 45-14 road win at Temple. The Pirates gained 614 yards with good performance on the ground and air. On defense, they limited the Owls to 2.7 yards per carry with 151 yards passing for 6 yards per pass attempt. Kate Hauser here 19-24 passing for 256 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. Charlotte on the road in conference play gave 39 points per game with 5.6 yards per rush and 6.7 yards per pass attempt. On offense, in conference, 49ers are poor on the ground and at quarterback position. ECU at home conference play putting up 4.3 yards a carry with 9.2 yards per pass attempt. They defend the pass well at home against the AAC. ECU 3-1 of the spread at home, facing teams that allow 31 points per game or greater. Pick your East Carolina here minus 28.5. Iowa State and TCU for Saturday. Iowa State now 5-4 after their 24-19 home defeat to Arizona State. The Cyclones had a poor passing game and rushed for 150 yards for 4.7 yards a carry. Defensively, they limited the Sun Devils through the air but allowed 290 yards rushing for 6.3 yards a carry. Rocco Beck, 18 of 36 passing for 186 yards with a touchdown and pick. TCU 6-2 after a 23-17 road win at West Virginia. The Horned Frogs had movement in the passing game and rushed for 2.9 yards a carry. On defense, they held the Mountaineers to 41 rushing yards with 301 yards passing for 7.3 yards per pass attempt. Josh Hoover, 24 of 39 passing for 247 yards with a touchdown. It is 4 straight losses for the Cyclones. Iowa State defensively on the road in conference play, allowing 5.5 yards per rush, 9.4 yards per pass attempt. Offensively on the road in the Big 12, they struggle with pass efficiency. TCU at home in the Big 12 has averaged 39 points per game with 4 yards per rush with good quarterback play. On defense in conference play at home, they're allowing 3.4 yards per rush and 53% completion rate. Horned Frogs 3-1 of the spread as home favorite at 3.5 to 10 points. Pick here TCU minus 6.5. Texas A&M and Missouri. This one for Saturday. Texas A&M now 8-0 after a 49-25 road win at LSU. The Aggies had good work in the passing game and rushed for 224 yards for 5.6 yards a carry. They limited the Tigers to 2.5 yards per rush with 218 yards passing for 5.6 yards per pass attempt. Marcel Reed in the game, 12-21 passing for 202 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. He rushed for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. Missouri sits here at 6-2 with their 17-10 road defeat here to Vanderbilt. That was 2 weeks ago. In that game, the Tigers were inefficient through the air and rushed for 170 yards for 4.1 yards a carry. On defense, they limited the Commodores and allowed 136 yards rushing for 5.2 yards a carry. Matt Zollers here, 14-23 passing for 138 yards and a touchdown. 2 of the Aggies' 3 road wins have come by 2 or fewer points. Texas A&M on the road in conference play, allowing 34 points per game with 5.6 yards per rush. Missouri at home in the SEC has rushed for 5.9 yards a carry. And on defense, allowing 1.8 yards per rush. Texas A&M 0-6 to the spread on the road, facing teams that average 5.9 yards per play. Missouri 5-1 to the spread at home. Bonner road game. Pick here Missouri here at +7. For more free pick videos, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Lots of free picks for myself and the team of cappers here at Tony'sPicks.com. Making it a great channel to subscribe to. Give us that like, that thumbs up. Show appreciation. Greatly appreciate it. And then visit our site, Tony'sPicks.com, for our best bets. Our premium plays are there. And our promo code TonyT at checkout knocks off that 15%. That will do it for now. I'm Tony T. We'll talk to you later.